Palou leads away, and Kiffin Simpson already tucked up on the rear wing. But look at Lundgaard having a look on Palou, but Palou holds the lead, and we've got a crash at the back. Graham Rahal involved, Joseph Newgarden involved, Will Power as well. Disaster once again for Penske. And Newgarden is out immediately, and that's a Prema in trouble as well. That looks like Callum Ilott, but Palou holding the lead of this race, and another nightmare for Penske and for Joseph Newgarden.
This is on board with Graham Rahal. We'll get a good view of Newgarden, who's just in front to the right there. Oh, he just locked up.
The car just snapped on him. That's bizarre, though, T-Bell.
Back to green. An aggressive start from Lundgaard on the power early, jumping down there through the final corner, wanting to have a look and get up and pass Kiffin Simpson at the earliest possible opportunity. Snaking through turn one, and now we are racing for real as Lundgaard has a little look and Simpson goes to defend. Lundgaard, though, around the outside of Kiffin Simpson at 2, but Simpson again closes the door. Lundgaard now on board with him on the run down through 3 into 4. The pace advantage of the McLaren clear as it stands. Who will be later on the brakes? Lundgaard trying to go around the outside of Kiffin Simpson, and Simpson again defends beautifully. Great racing, but Lundgaard is through.
Power needs more than Shell fuel, because he says, I'm losing power. There's a misfire. He just got passed by Di Francesco, and he lost about 5 seconds on the last lap.
Looked like there was some smoke just pouring out the back of his car.
Fire on the left side.
There you go. A fire on the left side of the car. There was smoke billowing from it as he ran down pit lane. Smoke coming from the back of Rasmussen's car. I wonder if we'll see a caution coming out.
Who would that help? Scott Dixon.
Scott Dixon. But Palou is coming under some serious pressure. We know how cool he is, how calm and considered behind the wheel. As we do now get the caution. We roll back to green as Palou from Lundgaard, then Simpson, Herta, Siegel, Scott Dixon, your top 6 at Mid-Ohio. And look already at Nolan Siegel trying to go around Colton Herta, making life difficult for him, but Herta, that car placement once again, just perfect to deny the young McLaren driver on the run down now to turn 3. Siegel with an excellent exit on that run down through the kink at 3.
Simpson's down to 6th, guys.
Simpson must have gone off, or maybe Colton forced the issue. He's going to get passed by Marcus Armstrong here.
And Felix Rosenquist, I wonder if he's got an issue, because he's been having such a good day, been driving so consistently and so well, but now is dropping like a stone. This at a moment between Santino Ferrucci and Connor Daly. Ferrucci really running Daly out of track. I mean, there's getting your elbows out, and there's forcing another driver off track. The win right now no longer appears to be the fight between Alex Palou and Christian Lundgaard, but rather the fight between Alex Palou and his teammate Scott Dixon.
That's right.
2 completely different strategies. Palou is pumping in qualifying lap after qualifying lap after qualifying lap. Conversely, Scott Dixon is having to save, having to conserve to try and make his numbers.
Oh, Palou's off, just dropped wheels. Lower side of the screen, and that's really going to hurt that gap. That was turn 4. He just overcooked it, trying to turn quick laps. A rare mistake.
And you don't see that from Alex Palou all that often. It just shows the extent, the degrees to which he is pushing out there on the track today. And it's over that bump once again. We've seen it all the way through this weekend. Lucky boy. And now in comes Scott Dixon.
And I think Kiffin Simpson is following. Great job from Kiffin Simpson. Jack.
Well, honestly, both of these pit stops happening almost in the same time. Let's go to Kiffin Simpson quick. He's going to put on a new set of reds. But if there was ever a guy who can make fuel, and he's won here 5 times, it's Scott Dixon. Oh no, it's Kiffin stalled.
Kiffin Simpson stalls on pit lane. And a brilliant weekend, and he gets so close.
The right rear tire changer for VK. Watch the toes here. Woo!
He did just get his toes.
No bobbles on the front or the rear. He's away. Now where's he going to come out in relation to Scott Dixon?
That's a perfect stop for Alex Palou. Dixon through the final corner and down the start-finish stretch into one. He will have a pace advantage. His tyres will be up to temperature. Palou, though, will have the track advantage. Palou then out ahead of his teammate Scott Dixon, but can Dixon make the warmer tyres work?
It's about 2 seconds the gap. Palou on cold tires, so the gap will be closer to a second by the end of this lap. But boy, Palou's got to like the view from where he's sitting right now. Understand some frustration from Colton Herta on his last stop. Let's see what happened.
Yeah, it's dropped before the left front's done.
Yeah, frustration coming out of Colton Herta there.
An opportunity to compete for second place with Scott Dixon. Lundgaard has been about that half-second quicker the last few laps. Last lap, Lundgaard a 107.0 to Dixon's 107.7. So that's the kind of pace we need.
Problem for Palou. He's gone slowly, and Scott Dixon has gone past him.
Does he have a mechanical problem? Did he drop a wheel? He seems to be back up to pace, Townsend.
I don't know if he's been off the track. I don't know if he's had a mechanical problem. But something has gone wrong for Alex Palou. He has lost the lead of this race to his teammate Scott Dixon, who is the new race leader.
He bobbled once before, and we'll have to see if he put it off the racetrack again. Tricky section right here, and he gets a little loose and he gets wide. A mistake from Palou again, and this time it will cost him.
Running down the hill one more time. Dixon on the button. Palou on the button. Probably one really good opportunity for a pass remains, and it's on the run down into this corner. There is no way through for Alex Palou unless Dixon now makes a mistake. But he is too wily. He is too experienced. Right from the start of this race, Dixon said, we're going to two-stop it. We're going to throw the Hail Mary. We're going to make the impossible possible. We're going to make the strategy work. Alex Palou has made an uncharacteristic mistake and has handed the victory to Scott Dixon, but Dixon had to make this work. It's a 21st straight season with a victory for Scott Dixon. What a brilliant win.
Up next, it's the Sync 275, Saturday, July 12th at 5 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
And with that, welcome to another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derik Vance, and my other two co-hosts I will bring in here shortly. But yes, what a interesting I think finish to say the least this past Sunday, and obviously we will discuss, analyze, and break down Scott Dixon, another win in his illustrious career, a 21st consecutive year that Scott Dixon has won a race. So again, congratulations goes out to him, but you're not here for me. So let's bring in the other two co-hosts of the Push to Pass podcast. First, fresh off a vacation where I'm surprised that he didn't get melted to the pavement. Josh is here with us. Josh, how are you this evening?
Doing fantastic, Derik. Let's try that. Doing fantastic, Derik. Can't complain. It's another week of Push to Pass podcast madness, and I'm ready to get rolling.
Yes, and as for the other individual that makes this wheel turn, he was actually at the race this past Sunday, and I'm very interested to hear his review of not only the race, but the accommodations that the Push to Pass podcast was given, or lack thereof. But Michael, how are you this evening?
I am doing well. It was definitely an interesting weekend, to say the least. But yeah, more to come on that.
Yeah, absolutely. More to come, as he said, on that front. Like I mentioned, here in a few short moments, we will recap, analyze, review, and discuss what was the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. I did to my 5 takeaways this morning, and I'm sure Michael has his winners and losers queued up as well for us. We'll give you some driver interviews, and then we'll go over results, point standings, and race picks. Because, fellas, things in the race pick world here at the Push to Pass podcast are getting awfully interesting, to say the least. So, also, we do not have a guest this evening, and that's partially my fault, but also too, we do have a Iowa doubleheader to preview this weekend. As well. So that's why I kind of made the executive decision not to bring somebody on. I did not hear back from Mike, so we're going to play it by ear to see if he stops by this evening. We will get the first look at the weather report for Iowa this weekend, and then some news and notes to go over as well before we close the chapter on episode 87. We are slowly pushing, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 100. Hello, everyone over on that's watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter or X. Please like and share the stream. And like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to the Twitter or X page. I believe we are pushing just over 600 followers over on Twitter and X. So a huge thank you to everyone over there. All right, let's get into what everybody comes here for. Obviously, let's talk about Mid-Ohio. A lot to discuss, like I said. Michael was there. I know he's going to have a lot to discuss. He'll probably be able to argue every one of my 5 takeaways, and I'm sure Josh will as well. But let's get into it. My 5th takeaway, I don't know if it's most or how I should do this, most or least important takeaway, but my 5th takeaway nonetheless, and it's a team that surprisingly this year, ladies and gentlemen, we have talked about a lot of moving parts. The frustration has to be building. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about, if I get the graphic correctly there, more frustration has to be building over at Team Penske. 23rd, 26th, and 27th, respectively. Those were the positions that all 3 of the cars up on screen finished this weekend at Mid-Ohio. You had Scott McLaughlin, the best finisher, if you want to say, for Team Penske, 23rd. Will Power with the engine failure or lack, or I don't know if it's a failure, but catches on fire. He finishes 26th. And then obviously in the opening segments of the race, Joseph Newgarden's day was really over before it started, finishing 27th. Fellas, I couldn't find it, and you know how big of a statistical guy that I am, but this has to be, and if one of you two know the answer to this in your rebuttal, please answer it, but this has to be the single-handedly worst season for Team Penske in recent years. And, not to mention their finishes, which have to be frustrating, but you flip over to the championship point standings, which we'll do here momentarily. Will Power, 9th in points, 228 behind. Scott McLaughlin, 11th in points, 233 behind. And maybe the most disappointing, Joseph Newgarden, 19th in points, 288 behind. So, fellas, frustration has to be mounting over at the Team Penske camp.
Yeah, I mean, seems like every week we are talking about the missteps, the misfortunes, and the missed opportunities for Team Penske. We only have a handful of races left. Our last race is at the end of August, so less than 2 months left in this failure of a season for Team Penske, and they're going to have to take a long, hard look in the mirror. I know Roger's got a lot of Mr. Penske's got a lot on his mind, lot going on with owning the with owning this and owning that, but he's gonna have to actually step in and take control this coming off season to stabilize the as they say, stabilize the ship, get the ship back on the right path, in my opinion, because they've had, as we've talked, the controversies, the cheating scandals here and there, either last year or this year, and they've got to do something to right that ship, whether it be starting. I know they fired some of their higher ups after the mishaps at the 500, but you got to do something, because the ship's sinking, and it's taking on water like the Titanic right now.
Yeah, everything's going wrong at Team Penske and nothing seems to be going right. You can see the frustration in the drivers just for the simple fact. I mean, you look at Will Power in practice. I mean, he was in Pelot's face immediately during first, or I think it was second practice. So things are definitely heating up over there. A lot of tension in the building. So drivers are frustrated, I'm sure. So we'll have to see. Not only are they having a terrible year, but they're also trying to work a contract with Will Power. So we'll see what happens there with Power. Does he stay? Does he go? And what's the best decision for him? And honestly, how does Team Penske get out of this? Because an engine failure. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about Chevrolet and their woes this year as well. But I mean, a lot of drivers are getting into that crucial, penalty of taking an extra engine. So we'll have to continue to monitor that as we go forward as well.
And one more thing to hit on with Team Penske, and I think Michael, you just brought it up there. And I typed it in chat for everybody, but how uncharacteristic was it seeing, I know we've seen the antics of Will Power in the past, and the first one comes to mind is him giving the double barrel salute to a camera guy, but how uncharacteristic from both of you was Will Power Friday during practice with, as Michael mentioned there, Alex Pelot?
I'm going to say it was very uncharacteristic, okay? Especially for a veteran like Will. He looked looked out of place, and he looked like a man that was just done with the season. He's never going to say he's done with the season. He's never going to show it, but that was a little bit of a crack in his armor to me.
Yeah, I think back to when you said, the double birds, back at New Hampshire, there was something outside of his control that caused that situation with the rain, and he was very frustrated. I look back to when him and Dixon got into it, and I think of everything that was going on in his personal life. Not only is this season gone terrible for the organization as a whole, but he's also in a contract year, so maybe there's some frustration behind the scenes that we're not seeing as well. So definitely uncharacteristic for Power to show it. I mean, he's very vocal on the radio, and he's got a great personality. He's very, very passionate about the sport of IndyCar. So I think I look at those situations that I talked about, and there's always some sort of contributing factor to his anger and aggression. So just have to see what goes on and what move happens this offseason.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Josh alluded to it. I think there's going to be some type of shakeup in the Team Penske camp going into 2026. All right. Fourth takeaway from Sunday's race. And you have to get when a team does well and they do it well consecutively, I think they deserve their flowers. And who am I speaking about? Meyer Shank Racing. This was the second weekend in a row that Meyer Shank Racing had two cars finish very, very strong. If you think back a couple weeks ago at Road America, you had Felix Rosenquist, who claimed a podium spot, while Marcus Armstrong collected his first top 5 of the season. And obviously, this past Sunday wasn't any different. Rosenquist was able to drive home to his 7th top 10 finish of the season when he finished 6th. And Armstrong, who finished 1 spot behind him and collected his 6th top 10 finish of the season, coming home 7th. So huge momentum, I think, over in the Meyer Shank camp as of late.
Oh yeah, lots and lots of momentum as we've come along, and as you see that Liberty that was on that car honoring Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath's last concert this past weekend. Meyer Shank is slowly but surely becoming one of the bigger teams. They're more consistent. They're putting out good results, and their drivers are just getting it, I think, this year. Outside of the dominance of Palou, I got to say this is, and the Penske problems, I got to say this is probably my most favorite thing to talk about, because I love seeing one of those smaller teams be able to come in and compete with the big boys, so to speak.
I think you see the dedication from Mike Shank and everyone at Meyer Shank Racing, Elio Castroneves coming in and really helping turn that organization around from a leadership side of things. The technical alliance with Chip Ganassi Racing clearly has helped them as well. And I mean, the stats show that every week here lately, it seems that they're getting better and better. And you look at the Indy 500, they ran really well, as could be expected. I know Marcus had his issue in qualifying, or I guess that was practice before qualifying, and had to race Frankenstein into the race. But apart from that, their season's been pretty smooth, and they just keep moving up and up and up the standings.
Yeah, definitely good to see. Like Josh alluded to. Those smaller market, I guess that's what we use in basketball and baseball, those smaller market teams having success, especially one homegrown, close to me, not close to me, but with Meyer Shank Racing. All right, third takeaway from this past Sunday's race, and maybe this helps this team get off the schneid a little bit for you baseball people out there that watch this show, but huge momentum to Arrow McLaren. I thought this weekend, I thought it was a bounce back weekend for them. Outside of the dismal season that we just talked about with Penske and what they're having, Arrow McLaren hasn't had as much success this season as I thought, and as they thought and expected. But Sunday, maybe that turns the corner for them. Definitely remains to be seen. You had Christian Lundgaard, who started position 2. Nolan Siegel right there, 2 spots behind him, and started 4th. And Pato O'Ward, who I thought has been up and down this season. Obviously the face of Arrow McLaren. He started 14th. But they finished strong. All 3 cars did. Lundgaard was able to collect his 5th podium of the season, finishing 3rd. Pato O'Ward from 14th grabbed his 7th top 5 of the season, finishing 5th. And then Nolan Siegel, just outside the top 10, comes home 11th. So I thought it was a bounce back weekend for Arrow McLaren, and maybe this is the track they needed, fellas, for them to turn the corner in their season.
Well, I think back to last year with Pato, and we talked about it last week, how this was the first race of the hybrid last year, and Pato picked up the win at Mid-Ohio last year with the performance that he had this weekend. I was kind of shocked when he qualified as far back as he did. But another driver, in the Arrow McLaren stable you have to talk about, and you talked about Nolan Siegel. I think, honestly, this has been overall the best weekend he's had in his IndyCar career. And I know it's not been very long, but There was some, I know we kind of talked about it, how long is Nolan going to continue to be in that car if he continues to run as poor as he has? And he's really stepped it up the last, I would say, 2 or 3 races. So excited to see him. And then Christian Lundgaard, he's finally made his presence back towards the front. It's been since Birmingham since he's finished inside the top 5. So he's kind of been non-existent. We were talking about him being a challenger for Alex Palou, but he kind of had a horrible month of May, and it kind of trickled into June, and things have kind of turned around for him. So it'll be interesting to see if McLaren can continue progressing in the right direction.
Yeah, great weekend for Aero. Good to see it. I'm always good to see teams that have been struggling come up and start to do a little bit more. I just want to see it on a more consistent basis. As Michael said, we did peg Lundgaard as being the competition to Palou, and then he fell off. I need to see some consistency over the next however many races we have left. Get a good springboard into this off season, and maybe they can come back hot next year. So I'm going to hold judgment completely until the end of the year for our end of the year wrap up, and hopefully they put in some more consistency and finish this season off strong.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Aaron McLaren takes this momentum, and Josh alluded to it. They springboard into the Iowa doubleheader because Pato O'Ward has had some success there at Iowa in recent years. All right, second to last takeaway from Sunday's race, and we can hold the presses. Hold the presses. Alex Palou is human after all. I knew nobody knew this going in, but Alex Palou is human after all. And what I mean by that is we talk about how picture perfect, and usually you think about that with Penske, but how picture perfect Palou and his crew have been all year. Well, it finally may have caught up with him in the smallest minimal of margins on Sunday. He obviously gave away, and I think that's in all intents and purposes, and Michael can speak more about that, obviously being there on Sunday. But Palou did give away his 7th, which could have been his 7th win of the season there on lap 85, as you've seen in the opener there, where he ran just a little bit too wide, which give the Iceman enough room to squeeze past for the victory. Palou could only pull within about 0.35 seconds of Dixon, and just obviously ran out of time. So with Palou finishing second, I know you guys are worried, but let me calm your fears. Even with Palou's small, marginal, minimal mistake, he still owns a 430-point lead, Josh, with 7 races left to go. So you can ease back a little bit. He's got a little bit of a cushion, so to say there. But just taking a look at Palou this year as a whole, and obviously, I know there's probably people that watch this show that probably say to themselves, these guys sure talk a whole hell of a lot about one guy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're witnessing history, I think, in the making, and I think Josh and Michael will back me up on this. Outside of the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix and the Bomarita Automotive Group 500, this is Alex Palou's season. First, second, first. Keep in mind, he did sweep both at Indy as well. 25th, 8th, 1st, and 2nd this weekend. So definitely history in the making for Alex Palou in this 2025 season. But like I said, everybody can take a deep breath, relax. We did witness, and Michael witnessed it in person. Alex Palou is human on Sunday.
Yeah, I compare Alex Palou to Captain America. Captain America, as we all know, was human, got his powers, and he was a superhero, but he wasn't perfect. He was not So I compare him to that. So if he's a human, he's a meta-human to me. I thought watching the race whenever he went into that corner, I'm not exactly sure which corner it was, and he bobbled it. I was afraid that maybe that was going to get into his head and he was going to maybe do something again later on in the race, and it proved out to be true that he bobbled that turn, went off into the grass a tiny bit, and that's all Dixon needed. That's all he needed was just that little bobble to be able to pass up Pelot. And once he got by him, he wasn't going to he wasn't going to catch him. He wasn't going to catch Dixon, because Dixon, once you get him in the lead, he's almost unstoppable, almost like Pelot. But it was a bobble. It was a mistake. He got into his own head, I think. He was trying to take that turn, perfect, because he didn't take it earlier, and he just overthought it, in my opinion. So Alex Pelot is human, but he's a meta-human.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see Alex Pelot. Everyone's talking about the mistake that cost him the win, but he made two crucial mistakes at Mid-Ohio, running off the course twice. Yeah, definitely a human being, but still a very consistent race car driver. And Derik, you brought up, the two races that he's not performed well. And, one is an oval, which, we'll see. We got a lot of ovals coming up. So we'll see if he can continue to be as impressive as he has been all year. But at Detroit, he was running in the top 7 or 8 when he got crashed. So, I mean, besides being crashed out and an 8th place finish, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Alex Pelot is pretty much dominated the season. So it'd be interesting to see, like I said, with the ovals coming up, if he can continue to be the dominator, or if the ovals will be a little bit tricky for him.
Yeah, obviously, we thought that Alex Pelot was able to put that oval talk to bed with capturing his first Indianapolis 500 this season, but maybe, as Michael alluded to, that oval conversation may creep its way back in. All right, last takeaway, obviously, I mean, what else can you say? Scott Dixon continues his career winning streak. On Sunday, the Iceman continued 2 remarkable series record streaks after collecting his 59th career victory, first win of the season, and his 7th career win at Mid-Ohio Sports Park course. I didn't know that. I didn't know he had 7 career victories there. Obviously, we talked about, Dixon has now won at least one race in 21 consecutive seasons, and that dates back to 2005. And he has also recorded a victory in 23 seasons during his soon-to-be Hall of Fame worthy career. Also, the 6-time champion Dixon crossed the finish line just 0.420 seconds ahead of Pelot, which is the closest result on the NTT INDYCAR Series this season. So again, I don't know much more we can talk about Scott Dixon. Give him his flowers, and you might as well just get his spot ready, because the Hall of Fame is going to be calling his name in no time.
Definitely. What a feat! 21 years in a row, he's won a race. That's remarkable. I'm not sure if there's anybody in sports history that could say that 21 years in a row they won something like that. That would be like 21 years in a row winning the Cy Young, 21 years in a row winning, AL or NL MVP. I mean, he was the ultimate opportunist on this one. He took full advantage of the opportunity to be able to pass Pelot up when Pelot messed up, and he made Pelot pay. It's congratulations to the to the man from he's either from Australia or New Zealand. I think one of them down there. That they're both neighbors. But congratulations to him, and his spot in the Hall of Fame was already enshrined. It was already ready to go, and they just need to take the veil off. This is just one more thing they can add to the placard.
Yeah, Scott Dixon is a Kiwi. He's from New Zealand, and he does have 21 years with a win, which is unbelievable to think about. I feel like it was just yesterday he was a rookie in the IndyCar series. So, man, time flies, and he continues to be the Iceman. He's just so smooth in a race car, which is incredible. It's incredible to watch him kind of carve his way through a field when he has to start towards the rear. I know a few times this year he's had poor qualifying attempts, but he's made his way through the field. And, to execute as well as he did, and only be one of the only few drivers to do the two-stop strategy was pretty impressive. And yet again, it's a fuel mileage deal with Scott Dixon getting a win, but he's been doing it long enough. He knows what he's got to do to save the field that he needs to.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And when I heard he wanted to do it in 2 stops, I was very unsure. But if there's one driver that could pull it off, it's Scott Dixon. That's exactly what he did on Sunday. Before we get to the results, Michael, do you want to go over your winners and losers of the weekend?
Yeah, I can do that. We've hit pretty much all of them, I feel like. But winners, we just talked about him, Scott Dixon. How can you not add him to your list? We talked about Arrow McLaren, but I specifically singled out Christian Lundgaard just for the fact that he's kind of had a whole race put together again. First top 5 since Birmingham, so good for him. Talked about Meyershank. We already kind of hit on them, and both their drivers finished the top 10. They're both in top 10 in points. They're ahead of both Penske, or both their cars are ahead of all the Penske cars, which is crazy to think about. And then my winner, my last winner that I haven't really talked about yet is Rinus VeeKay. Another strong run. I feel like I talk about him quite a bit, but another strong run for him and Dale Coyne Racing, working his way from the back to finish in the top 10 again. Half the races this year he's finished in the top 10. So, it continues to impress. If you're a bigger team, I keep advocating for him because a bigger team picks him up and gives him a competitive car on week in and week out basis. It could be interesting to see. Losers, we talked about a few of these. I put Alex Palou in the loser category because I'm not sure how many times this year I'll be able to do that. So he got put there just for the simple fact he made 2 mistakes, and the second one was the biggest one. This team, Juncos Hollinger Racing, is in kind of tough waters. Connor Daly didn't have a great weekend. He kind of got forced off the track by Santino Ferrucci. And Stingray Robb is only 6 points ahead of Devlin DeFrancesco, and they are both on the outside of the leader circle. Stingray Robb is currently 13 points behind Louis Foster for that, and that's the extra $1.2 million that's paid out for the teams at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, however you want to look at it. Another loser on the list that I have is AJ Foyt Racing. Both their cars were just not competitive at all this weekend. It was really sad to see because they've been pretty dominant. I wouldn't say dominant, but pretty, consistently up, towards the front. I know Detroit, we had, David Malukas and Santino Ferrucci were doing really well. So, it's hard to see them. I mean, they weren't competitive at all this weekend. And this one could kind of merge together, but it's 2 Andretti Global teams. I put Colton Herta on there, and not necessarily Colton Herta the driver, but Colton Herta's pit crew. I don't know how many spots they've lost him on pit road this year, but yet again, another pit road issue this past weekend at Mid-Ohio. And yeah, it seems like whenever he's in that money stop situation, it's crucial that, and they mess that up. So yeah, they've got to do something if they want to be competitive and compete for wins, because most of the time that money stop is what it comes down to, and you guys got to be a little bit faster and not have so many mistakes. And then the next Andretti Global driver that I'm really worried about is Marcus Ericsson. They've not had a great year. There's been kind of glimmers of hope for that team, but this weekend they have Fox on their car, which, I mean, the livery was cool, but are you having hard times getting, sponsors to fill that car? And then what's the future for Marcus Ericsson at Andretti Global? So those are some of the questions I had for this weekend. Are they having difficulty finding sponsorship for that car? And if they are, how much longer will Ericsson be at Andretti Global? And those are the winners and losers I have from Mid-Ohio. Would be interesting to hear your thoughts on those.
Yeah, I think we kind of, mashed up a little bit when it comes to some of those. I find that the Marcus Ericsson one pretty interesting. He has had a roller coaster type season, and I thought when they unveiled the Fox Sports sponsorship for this weekend, it raised my eyebrows. I don't know about anybody else out there, but it did raise mine a little bit and kind of sent some questions my way. But yeah, I think for the most part, definitely, a lot of questions for some drivers searching for some answers, and teams right now do have a little bit of momentum as we're going to hit, obviously, these next 7 races. So, all right, before we get into the results of the race, let's listen from some of the drivers that participated this past weekend.
Lundgaard back on the podium. He's going to round out your top 3. That was an intense race with strategy, with heat, you name it. What were your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, I think this morning we were really good on trying to see if we could get the fuel number for a 2-stop, and obviously there's a big debate going into the race if that's what we're going to do. And I think once you're out there, you're not really clear on who's on what strategy. And I will honestly say there was at some point I didn't even know that Pato was on that 2-stop. So, but yeah, I mean, we got back on the podium, so we're happy.
How good does that water taste? Because I know that was a physical one.
Yeah, I don't drive with a cool suit. I don't drive with a drink bottle. So I need it a lot before, and I need a lot now.
Thanks, Christian. Great job.
I've got to ask, just what happened in turn 9?
I don't know, man. Just a stupid mistake, honestly. Mistake by my part. The car was amazing all weekend, all race. Everybody in the 10 car did an amazing job on pit stops and strategy. Like, we were running really good, but just lost it a little bit on entry, and then kind of couldn't really get power going on. So yeah, man, nobody to blame but me. Just got to be wide on entry and lost it completely. So it sucks. It hurts a lot. Obviously, it's still a good day, but yeah, it hurts to lose it like that. So yeah, anyway, at least we got it in the team. So they can feel proud about their work, but yeah, big mistake.
A bad mistake maybe, but still P2. Congrats, champ.
Thank you.
You have a lot of experience this. Only AJ Foyt has won more races. This is number 59, but how many have maybe seemed this improbable?
It was definitely a tough race, full credit to everybody at Chip Ganassi Racing. 1-2 win. I'm not sure where Kiffin was, but I'm sure he was right there as well. We had fantastic cars. It was my fault in qualifying. Thanks. That was cool. But just so much fun, to try and pull off what we did and, deal with what we had was fantastic. They forgot to take the front wing out on the last stop, man, so I just had to look at the corner and the car was going to turn. I was just hoping the rear tires were going to hold on, but awesome to have all the family here today, which is fantastic. They drove up this morning, so good to see Emma, and obviously I think that's Kit's first win, so that's at the track is pretty cool. So thank you again to everybody in PNC. Honda, obviously fantastic fuel mileage there, man. It was such a joy to drive.
And your mom is also here. That's pretty cool.
She's been here for a couple of weeks, so finally it paid off for her.
Yeah, she said that you owed her a win. So after you get by Palou, was there any more fuel save, or were you where you could full go? I think a lot of people thought he might still have a chance at you.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough just because it's hard in the wake. You know, we still had to save fuel all the way to the end, so it was definitely very tight. But yeah, you know, I didn't see what happened. I saw that he went off in turn 9, so we got a little bit lucky with that. But kudos to everybody on the 10, the 9, and the 8. It was a tremendous weekend for us all, man.
Big weekend for the Dixon family. Kid is here, Tilly is here, Emma, his mom Glennis. What a day for Scott Dixon, winning for a 21st consecutive time to keep that season streak alive.
All right, let's throw up the results from this past weekend. If you have not seen them yet, here they are in their entirety. Like we said, Scott Dixon, followed by Alex Palou and Christian Lundgaard were your top 3. Then they were followed by Colton Herta, Pato O'Ward, Felix Rosenquist, Marcus Armstrong, Kyle Kirkwood, Renus VK, and Kiffin Simpson rounded out your top 10. Then it was Nolan Siegel, Marcus Ericsson, Callum Ilott, Louis Foster, Alexander Rossi, Santino Ferrucci, David Malukas, Josh's favorite driver, Stingray Robb, Connor Daly, and Devlin DeFrancesca rounded out the top 20. Then they were followed by Robert Schwartzman, Jacob Abel, Scott McLaughlin, Graham Rahal, Christian Rasmussen, Will Power, and Joseph Newgarden completed the 27 driver field. Switching gears over to the up-to-date point standings. And again, as I do, I apologize, trying to find a site that gives us of what the points look like. Unfortunately, I still have yet to find that, so that's on me. But point standings go as followed. Alex Palou, Kyle Kirkwood, Pato O'Ward are your top 3. Then it's Scott Dixon, Christian Lundgaard, Felix Rosenquist, Colton Herta, Marcus Armstrong, Will Power, Santino Ferrucci round out your top 10. And then it's Scott McLaughlin, David Malukas, Renus VK, Alexander Rossi, Kiffin Simpson, Christian Rasmussen, Nolan Siegel, Connor Daly, Joseph Newgarden, and Marcus Ericsson round out the top 20. And of the full-time 27 drivers, it is Graham Rahal, Louis Foster, Robert Schwartzman, Stingray Robb, Devlin DeFrancesca, Callum Ilott, Jacob Abel round out again, as Michael alluded to earlier, the 27 full-time drivers on the NTT INDYCAR Series. All right, one last thing that we do need to get to before we put a close on the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, and then we look forward to the Iowa. It could be a hot Iowa doubleheader this weekend. We do need to look at our race picks, and as I teased out earlier, things are starting to get a little tight at the top of the leaderboard. You see it right there. Joy picked up her second win, or third win of the season, second win in a row. That ties her in first place with me, of all people. Go figure, right? No, this isn't rigged or rigged. But you have Josh with 2 wins and Michael with 2 wins as well. Obviously, Joy's not on here this evening, so I will let you two guys give a little bit of smack as to who's going to catch me and Joy here at the end of the season and tie us, or possibly take the race pick championship home this year.
Well, seeing she's already burned some of the top drivers, especially with Palou this past weekend, and I mean, she's taking Kirkwood away. There a lot of the drivers she's taken are the top drivers, so she's gonna have to start taking some of those lower tier drivers. So maybe me or Michael will be able to catch you, and you or her and take this championship, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Pillow and Kirkwood are both off the board. Maybe we can get some competition going now and some fun stuff. I look at it that way. I'm glad we can't snag the same driver week in and week out. I think that was a great thing we implemented.
Yeah, I think you both are absolutely right that I think things are going to get a little more tighter now that all of the major players, so to say, are off the board, and a lot of the maybe tier B drivers, if that's what we want to say, are going to be what's left standing, and it's going to decide who wins this year's version of the race pick championship for cert. All right, we will close the book on Mid-Ohio, just as I mentioned. We will hear from our sponsors, and then we'll get back into previewing what's going to be a hot, and I mean that by temperature, hot Iowa doubleheader this weekend. So we're going to step aside and hear from a few sponsors, and then we'll be back here on the Push to Pass podcast. Huge thank you, first and foremost, to both of the sponsors up on your screen that make it worthwhile to bring you this Push to Pass podcast every Tuesday evening. First and foremost, huge thank you to Always Ready 1776 for all your patriotic apparel, headwear, and more. Go check out the fine folks over at Always Ready 1776. And you can find them on the web as well at alwaysready1776.com. And if you do choose to buy a fine product of theirs, remember to use that promo code that you see down there, or actually in the middle of the screen, rather. Push to Pass for 10% off of your order over at Always Ready 1776. And also another huge sponsor of the Push to Pass podcast is Gettum Associates. For all your home design, build, and remodeling needs, remember, it's Gettum Associates. And you can find them as well on the web at gettum.com. And if you do peruse their wide range of selections and do find something that matches your taste, so to say, make sure you use that promo code that you see down there at the bottom, Push to Pass, for $250 off any design service. Huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Gettum Associates for being proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. All right, getting back into previewing the Iowa doubleheader this weekend. A lot could happen, a lot to unfold. So let's get into it, shall we? As I get up the right graphics. There we go. All right, previewing the Iowa doubleheader this weekend. We're going to first throw the track map up here so everybody has familiarized themselves with what Iowa's going to look like. If you have not seen it before, so we're going to let these graphics load a little bit. Josh or Michael, while we have these graphics loading, anything you want to touch on when it comes to thoughts or predictions? Obviously, we're not going to give a prediction yet for a driver, but what we're going to see this weekend in Iowa.
Two thoughts on the Iowa race. Very sad to see Hy-Vee leave as the title sponsor. You know, they always put on a great show from all the highlights that I see. And my other thought, and this could be just a prediction, Newgarden. This may be Newgarden's chance to be able to make something of his season this year. You know, we've been talking about Penske being down, but you can never count Joseph Newgarden out of an oval race. He has proven to be one of the, if not the best oval driver on the circuit right now. So that's my two takeaways right now from the Iowa doubleheader this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at when you think of Iowa. My big thing that I really want to see is how well that pavement has kind of aged in the corners. They kind of did that Frankenstein pave where we have, the corners are paved and one lane is a little bit more paved than the other lane, and we'll see how well that works out. I know Mike's not with us tonight. I did pull up some betting odds because I did that last week, so I kind of know what websites to go to a little bit. And Josh, they're right there with you. Joseph Newgarden's a plus 375 on BetMGM, and then on DraftKings he's a plus 300. So another driver they have up there pretty high is Pato O'Ward and Scott McLaughlin. So yeah, two, three good ovals, and of course Alex Palou is still the favorite somehow.
Josh, while we wait for the track map to hopefully load up here, I don't know if Mike's going to make it like Michael said. Any betting that you're potentially looking at? I know you were just out in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, but any betting odds that you might be looking at for both races this weekend?
I mean, I haven't looked at any of the odds. You know, a lot of they have some odds out right now, and they'll change. Like I said, Newgarden's always a great one to choose here. Last week, as me and Michael talked about, I explained different aspects of the betting. So if you're looking at the odds and you see a plus, just think that is just a reminder. Just think if you see a plus, it's for every $100 you bet, you win that much money. So if it's plus 500, you bet $100, you win $500. Altogether, you would win 600 because it'd be 500 plus your $100 back. So I won't go into my spiel about gambling, but gambling sponsoring this thing. But Joseph Newgarden, someone you need to look at. If I'm not mistaken, Pato won this a couple years ago. Maybe he didn't. I can't remember. We'll go over the past winners here shortly. Yes, there we go. See, I wasn't losing my mind. Pato winning this back in 2022, but as you can see, Newgarden there with 5 wins at this race, and McLaughlin and Power. I wouldn't really bet too much on Power, even though he did win one of the races last year, just because he's not having a very good season. And I would not bet too much on Palou to win. I'd maybe pick Palou and maybe a top 3 if you get some good odds, but he typically does not do very well at ovals. Even though he did win the 500 this year, he is not proficiently shown that he can be consistent in those oval races.
Well, let's see what our betting aficionado has to say with what Josh laid down there. Mike, good to join us this evening. I know Josh and Michael were talking a little bit about betting for Iowa this weekend. Before we get into that, I'm kind of curious to hear how you did at Mid Ohio, and then the preview like Josh just was for the Iowa doubleheader this weekend.
Yeah, man. Sorry I'm late. Better late than never, right? But yeah, Mid Ohio was good. I was super scared of Palou. He'd been taking all my money left and right. So I had a big bet on Lundgaard top 3, and cashed it. I've had a little bit of, as you say, scratch on Simpson, which was just a crazy number. It was like 20 to 1 and 40 to 1. But I was worried about Palou, so I stuck to the top 3 market and cashed that bet. That was really the only bet I made post qualifying. I had some pre-qualifying money on O'Ward and McLaughlin, which went up in flames real quick. So it was a good week, a little bit of a winning week, but I feel really bad. I don't know if you saw some of the Twitter or X retweets I put out there. Some people had some big money tied into parlays with the NASCAR guy Von Ginsberg, I believe his name is. And some of the F1 guys, and big parlays that cashed everything but the Palou part of it. and that sucks because he really choked that away. And then I had Dixon in the one and done pool, so that was cool. If you guys don't know about the one and done, that's something we should talk about before the next season. It's super fun. One driver per race, and you can't use them again. And I took Dixon, which kind of annoys me a little bit that I didn't bet him, but I took him in that, so at least I got something out of that win. But yeah, kind of like what you guys were just talking about, real quick. I caught the end of that. Man, it's JNU week, right? This is the week we bet all our money on JNU, except it's a little tricky because he totally sucks, right? So, not quite sure what we're gonna do with him. I have no clue what. I haven't seen odds yet. I checked today, this afternoon. I've been a little tied up later this evening, but I don't know what the sports books are gonna do. I imagine they're gonna make him the favorite, maybe Pelot the favorite, him the second favorite, based on historical track performance. They did that with Pato last week, but if they give us 3-1, 4-1 on Joseph, like, I'm gonna bet it. He wins one of the races and crashes in the other. So just pick the right race, hopefully, to bet him. Otherwise, like Award and McLaughlin, Award super good at these tracks. I still don't believe in Pelot on short ovals. So I'll be off of him. He can pretty much just coast to his title. He's not gonna do anything crazy. So and if you think the Penske's have sold their soul to the Devils and they're cursed and they're just gonna keep having all these problems and bad luck, man, it's going to be tough. The McLaren, like I said, look to the McLaren cars. I don't think Andretti's are good on short ovals, so it's going to be about the number, and it's going to be figure out how and when to bet JNU, and then probably stick to the Pato top 3 bets.
Yeah, that does seem for Iowa this weekend, Mike, the safe way to go. It's just a matter of which which race do you bet Newgarden and his tumultuous, and I think that's a safe word to use, season. It all comes down to Iowa because he obviously has the most success here. So it's going to be interesting to see what Newgarden's able to do. And again, to your point, it's going to be tricky because which one do you bet him on? Do you bet him the first race or the second race? So definitely interesting going into the weekend there. Any talk on Twitter how people were basically in line again with taking Alex Pelot, and then that little bobble with about 3 laps to go kind of screw the pooch for them this weekend.
Yeah, like I mentioned, man, huge parlays lost. I saw a guy had $1,000 parlay to win like 10K, got blown up by hit everything but the Pelot. I saw another $500 one, like, because I put a tweet out there that said, man, I feel bad for whoever's parlays Pelot just blew up, because that's really the only effective way to bet him. Like, I don't know, you just can't stomach taking a guy at minus odds in an IndyCar race. I can't, at least, which is why I'm off of him, because stuff like that happens. Like, I mean, I was thinking maybe he'd crash or have a mechanical failure. I mean, he just straight made a mistake. So, and I heard some conspiracy theory like, oh, he paid it back to Dixon for another win earlier, but whatever. But I doubt that. But yeah, it's wild. But to answer your question about JNU, like, if the number is good for race 1, bet him race 1, and then because if he wins race 1 at a 3-1 or 4-1 number, well, guess what? Race 2, he's going to be minus, maybe even money or minus money, like he should be probably. But I don't know, man. I'm even scared. Like, it better be a good number. Penske should dominate at these short ovals. Maybe McLaughlin's the way to go. But Pato's really good too, and Pato's been perfectly fine as far as his season. So if Pato's dropped at a 4 to 5-1, he'll be on my betting card for sure. So keep an eye out for the numbers. Keep an eye on X. As soon as we see those drop, I think the reason we haven't seen them is the sports books are all waiting for somebody to make a market, and then they're going to copy. Because I don't think any of them know what to do. But my guess is he'll be the favorite. It won't be a good number, and we'll have to make it. You have to decide what to do with your money.
All right, Mike, good stuff as always. And like you said, check out his Twitter, X for he's always quick to the trigger when those odds come out, and then I'm sure he'll put out an announcement if him or Tony do a spaces, if that's still a thing, on Twitter. But Mike, as always, a huge thank you, and hopefully we'll be able to win some money this weekend.
All right, good seeing you guys. Good luck.
All right, definitely check out the work that Mike does. Puts in long hours to win you guys some money, like he did for Josh. How do you think Josh got out to Vegas? You think Josh hitchhiked? No, Josh went first class due to the bets of Mike. All right, as we wind down here on the Push to Pass podcast, we are previewing Iowa, and how can we not give you a complete preview of Iowa if we don't do a check on the weather, because that plays a big role in betting and in just watching the race in general. And who better than the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast? Weatherman, what do you have in store for us this weekend in hot Iowa?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on again. So, overall, mid-July in Iowa, and thinking of the weather we've seen at past events out at the Speedway, not a terrible forecast, especially in terms of temperature. So the big picture is we got a system basically rolling through on Friday, which is what the timing looks like for now. And then with that, it kind of clears out the conditions for Saturday and Sunday as we go into the twin race days. So Friday's kind of the problem child right now that I'm keeping an eye on. Thunderstorms and rain moving in. It looks like the timing is going to be sometime mid-afternoon. And then there might be a break or two in there with more storms moving in the evening. So, and some of those storms could actually be heavy rain producers. And we know, I mean, Iowa has a history, right? When you get the heavy rain on the track, getting it to dry can be an issue sometimes. So I know Friday's really the only scheduled practice session for IndyCar, and then Indy next has got qualifying later on the evening, I think at 5:30 local. So, we're going to have to see. That's kind of in that window when that rain should be coming through. So we're going to have to keep an eye on what kind of impact that has to those sessions and the schedule, at least for Friday. Then the good news is Saturday is more or less the transition day. So for now, it's a dry forecast. Maybe we'll keep an eye on that just to make sure there's not any lingering instability as we go into the day on Saturday. But for now, it's dry, and temps should be a little bit cooler. Air should be a little bit drier, and leading into Sunday definitely looks good. Temps just up a little bit. But again, we're talking low to mid 80s, which I think for Iowa in July, most people would take that, especially after the last two races where we had temps into the 90s with high humidity, pushing the heat index up into the mid 90s, up into 100. So, so the two things maybe to keep an eye on, we'll look to narrow that rain window on Friday as best we can over the next couple days, and then just keep an eye on Saturday and make sure everything's going to stay clean there. And Sunday again looks pretty good for now. So that's where we stand.
And I know I always ask this, but I'm going to do it again. Obviously, if the weather pattern, if something was to change, where can all the fine folks that listen and follow the show, where can they find a updated forecast if need be?
Yeah, so we'll post that. I'll probably have an update tomorrow for starters, and then you can find me on X or Twitter if folks are still using that, and then I'm also cross-feeding products over to Blue Sky and Threads. So you just do a search for IndyCar Weatherman, and those products should come right up for you.
Perfect. As always, a huge thank you for joining us, giving us a preview of what the forecast is hopefully going to be this weekend, crossing our fingers, and we'll talk again real soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. You have a great night.
All right, so hopefully the weather patterns, stay to where they're at, and we'll have picture perfect weather hopefully for this weekend's race. All right, a couple things left that we didn't get to previewing Iowa. First and foremost, I never got, Josh, and I know you're going to be very disappointed in this, but wasn't able to get the track map and facts graphic up. So we'll read them here a little bit. Iowa Speedway, 275 laps, 245.85 miles. Yep, just go around in a circle, just like a 465, Josh, in your white van. Absolutely, just like that. IndyCar obviously is making its return to the fastest short track on the planet, July 11th through the 13th for the IndyCar race weekend. Obviously, it's a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. I know Josh is on the edge of his seat. Can't wait for all of the entertainment and great racing that the NTT INDYCAR Series is going to bring on their only doubleheader of the season, Saturday night. You know how much we love Saturday night racing, and then Sunday afternoon. Iowa Speedway is located in Newton, Iowa. It is a 0.875 mile tri-oval with variable banking that drives like a super speedway. With laps under 18 seconds and races lasting almost 2 hours, that's in time for Josh to get one full bag of popcorn down in under 2 hours. Iowa Speedway is exceptionally demanding physically and mentally on drivers. It is designed with the second generation safety barrier around the entire perimeter of the racetrack. Josh, Michael, anything you guys want to add when you look at this fastest short track on the planet, Iowa Speedway, right there? And there is, if you guys don't know the location, Josh, when he was growing up, and again, I think you guys think I'm picking on him, but when he was growing up, his favorite driver, Rusty Wallace, is a resident, or was, of Newton, Iowa.
Interesting fact. Thank you for telling me that. Rusty Wallace is not my favorite. He is an interesting man, but he is not my favorite. It's in the cornfields. They say there's more than corn in Indiana. There's not more than corn in Iowa. That's why they're called the corn people. You know what? This is an interesting. It's a fast track. They go pretty fast on this track. I would compare this one to, if you're talking about a NASCAR one, either I would say Bristol. It's a fast little track, so they'll get around there pretty quick. And it's a double header, so the drivers have they pop off that first race on Saturday, got to turn around, come right back, do it a second time. It's like a double header in baseball. So can't wait to see it. We're, like you said, we have 7 more races. After this, we'll have 5 more races, and it's going to be an action-packed run to the finish.
Yeah, a couple of things about this weekend. Derik, you brought it up, the second generation safer barrier. It's one of the only tracks that I know of. It might be the only track that I know of that doesn't have a concrete wall behind the safer barrier. So that's always been something I've wanted to see in person. I've never made it to Iowa Speedway. I would say that this weekend seems kind of depressing, if I'm being honest. Looking at the schedule, there's nothing really to do except for I shouldn't say there's nothing really, but when Hy-Vee was in the title sponsor role, there was concerts. They had multiple different artists there that kind of appeased to a lot of different people. But this weekend there's none of that. It's practice, qualifying, race, and then there's the race. And the only support series there with them this weekend is the Indy Next by Firestone. So if you're looking for the concerts and that kind of entertainment, unfortunately that won't be there this year. So I'm not sure. I don't know that this should be a doubleheader next year. I love the ovals. I love the short tracks and the speed of Iowa, but without that additional entertainment factor, you're asking people to spend a little bit more money for 2 races, and you're just not getting that benefit you did with Hy-Vee.
I was hoping, Michael, that you were going to say it, but I'll say it for you. You are not getting the bang for your buck that you used to with Hy-Vee, and definitely miss having them as a sponsor. I know Josh, the huge country fan fanatic that he is, loved all of those country acts there, as you see the whole enthusiasm right there on his face. You talked about he doesn't like Texas. Okay. You talked about the schedule for this weekend. Here is what the racing schedule obviously is going to look like. We're going to get things kicked off Friday, July 11th around 3:30 with that Highline session. If you remember, they had another one of those at St. Louis at the Bommarita Automotive Group 500 there at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And then first practice is going to be an hour later at 4:30. And then we roll over to Saturday where qualifying gets kicked off at noon. And then race one is right there a little bit under the lights just after 5 o'clock p.m. on Saturday evening. And then we roll into Sunday race number 2 at 1 p.m. Both races can be seen on Fox. All right, one last thing before we get on out of here, before we check and make sure that we covered all of our bases on this episode of the Push to Pass podcast. Let's go into what a quick lap looks like around the Iowa Motor Speedway.
We are P2, 40 laps to go. We're chasing Joseph, 5 seconds up. You're +2 on Pato. One car leaving on the bottom there, bit of a backstretch is Ferrucci.
Is what a quick lap looks like around the Iowa Speedway, and that is where the NTT INDYCAR Series finds itself for their one and only doubleheader of the season. All right, fellas, before we drop the checkered flag on another episode of the Push to Pass podcast, is there anything from either one of you fine gentlemen this evening that you wanted to, or that I missed and did not cover?
Not that I could think of. I was just going to ask Michael's how his weekend was this past weekend out there at Mid Ohio. Did you find a corner to stand next to, or did you find an odd seat somewhere to hook up to the power?
There was no power to be found. There was no air conditioning or food vouchers to be found either. So I'm not going to talk too badly about it, but it was definitely not a great experience. Definitely not the experience that Derik and I had last year.
So let me ask you this as we prepare for our races that we want to attend in 2026. Michael, is it in your opinion, and this is going to hinge on your opinion, do the Push to Pass podcast folks put Mid Ohio as one of the races that we would like to attend in 2026? The answer is yours.
Seems how well. I don't know. And here's the reason why I say I don't know, because we don't have a schedule yet, so I can't tell you. Maybe Mid Ohio is later in the year. Maybe it's earlier in the year. I personally don't necessarily like the fact that it's 4th of July weekend. I know a lot of people do. It's time for the family to get together and go to a race, which is fine. But the town I live in celebrates the 4th of July like it's Christmas. We set up everything, and I can sit in my house and watch the fireworks. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see. If I'm being honest, if I could go back 2 weeks, I would have rather saved the money I spent for Mid Ohio and decided to go to Iowa instead.
All right, so we will drop Mid Ohio for 2026 in the unknown column for the time being. All right, and that does it for, again, another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. Again, as I reiterated earlier in the show, huge thank you to all of the people watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We actually topped out at 60 viewers this evening. So huge thank you to all the folks there that watch this, not only this episode, but this show on a weekend and week out basis. Also, again, huge thank you to both Mike and the Weatherman for stopping by and giving us their knowledge of not only the betting world, but what the weather is going to look like for Iowa this weekend, not this evening, this weekend. Last but certainly not least, huge thank you both to Josh and Michael for all of the hard work that you guys do behind the scenes to make the Push to Pass podcast as successful as it is on a weekend and week out basis. All right, we'll be back again as always in 1 week's time to analyze, review, and discuss what we witnessed this coming weekend in Iowa for the NTT INDYCAR Series Iowa Doubleheader. So until next Tuesday evening, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you then.
The NTT INDYCAR Series is back on track.
McLaughlin left the door open on the inside. They'll go side by side as we got a car spinning out of turn number 2.
Marcus Erickson back to full of fuel with good stuff. 7 seconds. Oh, and he nearly makes contact with Scott McLaughlin. Looks like McLaughlin will beat him out.
Okay, now I'm happy. Great job, guys. Let's go, boys.
Listen to the NTT INDYCAR Series at Iowa Speedway, live this Saturday.